Hello, fellow seekers. Welcome back to the Law of One Spiritual Advice podcast. My name is Elle, and today I want to speak to you about some spiritual concepts and tie in some Law of One philosophy with it and my opinions. So, today I have a good one where I am being intrigued as to seeing this stuff online about the Saturn and Moon matrix. And specifically, they talk about this reincarnation trap, how they are implying that basically us being reincarnated here on Earth, along with even talk about you knowing about your chakras, is apparently all evil stuff, and how it's only just made to trick you, and it's Satan trying to trick you, and really you should just be, becoming a lover of Jesus. So before I start to offend anyone, I'm totally down with all of these concepts, except for the part where they misinterpret, in my opinion, the fact that this is a totally unfair game of enslavement, and people like me are just lying to you about trying to get you trapped continually in samsara, if you will. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about today, and a lot of this will just be my opinions. However, I do have a few quotes lined up that I can share with you to sort of give you some background knowledge into it. So if I may just start, if you appreciate my service in doing this, could you give me a thumbs up? Make sure you subscribe to the channel. All of these things are very appreciated in helping my channel grow and get these messages to people who enjoy them or need them. So thank you. And let's get into it here. So we are going to talk about the automatic reincarnation trap. So I guess I should tell you a little bit more about what you'll probably read on the internet about these things, the sort of contrarian things that you might read. So they'll say things like Saturn and the moon are basically creating this matrix around Earth, which could think of it like really like the Matrix. It's almost like they create this illusion around the Earth, which keeps us in a sort of a prison planet. And they like to explain to you that as the souls here reincarnate sort of infinitely over and over again, it's like the loosh or the energy that is sort of coming off of you is then leached by these sort of negative entities who seek to trap your soul in this 3D matrix indefinitely. And so I would say that people who have these opinions, they kind of are on the right track in a way, but they do miss out some very important parts, which unfortunately or fortunately will bring them outside of this victim mentality that, life is unfair, the universe is unfair, you've just been trapped somewhere, everyone's lying to you, and all of this is just to get you to do it all over again, and you poor silly human, you're just here trying to figure things out, and people are here to trick you. So I think these are misinterpretations. Throughout this podcast, I shall seek to unwind some of these interpretations and tell you how I see them. And in fact, I see them as a lot less threatening, especially once you know that a lot of this has to do with your free will and the fact that we apparently came here voluntarily. Okay, so let's start with the forgetting, with the amnesia, because I feel that is sort of the most important part. If we were connected with the all-knowing, the infinite intelligence of the Creator, then we wouldn't be invested in this experience. It would be like you knew everything already. What's the point of experiencing things if you already know everything? So what we do is we incarnate into this third density, and this is a place of darkness, a place of forgetting. However, that is done very purposely. That is done very much on purpose so that we can free up our consciousness of the burden of knowing everything and instead can be these ignorant little creatures that just go about our day trying to figure out the basics. And through that frees up our free will to not be burdened with the fact that, you know everything and you know the perfect thing to do in all scenarios. So we instead come here to be confused, and through that confusion makes us think, and by making us think, it sort of does that tough soul work that's has you growing from one portion of you in third density experience to hopefully growing into the next version of you, into the next density, the fourth density of love and understanding. So let me read you this quote here. This is from session 21.9, and they're just going to talk about the amnesia and the forgetting and how this is sort of a place of darkness. And we're also going to be talking in this section about the reincarnation part, how, they state, sort of the conspiracy folks, that you are trapped here in a reincarnation cycle and you automatically just keep getting recycled over and over and over again to have your energy be sort of used and leached. And so in this quote, they will explain how once you have opened up your heart, your incarnations ceases to be automatic. In other words, you then begin to pick your incarnation, your next incarnation. So right here in session 21.9, they state, during the first portion of third density cycles, incarnations are automatic and occur rapidly upon the cessation of energy complex of the physical vehicle. There is small need to review or to heal the experiences of the incarnation, as what you would call the energy centers begin to be activated to a higher extent. More of the content of experience during incarnation deals with the lessons of love. Thus, the time, as you may understand it, between incarnations is lengthened to give the appropriate attention to the review and the healing of experiences of the previous incarnation. At some point in third density, the green ray energy center becomes activated, and at that point, incarnation ceases to be automatic. End of quote. So you can see here in this quote that yes, if you are as a third density entity on this planet coming here and not really sort of learning the lessons of love, you might state, and you instead perpetually get yourself into these lower chakra energy centers where those lessons of ego and basically anything that sort of stops you from love, those things of separation, things that get you away from the heart, all of those types of things will be a cyclical type scenario where you will get yourself into reincarnating in third density over and over and over and over again, and it'll be fairly automatic and you won't even really be conscious of it until you begin to open up that heart. And once you have begun to open up the heart, or as they call it, the green ray energy center, once it becomes activated, at that point incarnation ceases to be automatic, meaning that prior to you being sort of aware of the lessons of love of the universe, you're more of an animalistic behavior. You're more of an animal. So you're just sort of doing the automatic over and over and over again until you understand that this is about the lessons of love and that you are a creature of love and that is what you are here to learn and to do and to be and to find and to be a witness to. And so through that, once you have sort of become aware of that, then the next incarnation that you pick can be one that is more, I suppose, conscious, one that is less automatic, one that is, I suppose, more planned out with your free will, as opposed to sort of what I would assume is automatic, means more like the infinite intelligence of the creator just sort of placing you where you need to be, as opposed to later where it is a more interactive process with your free will. Okay, so that firstly puts a sort of stop to the idea that you are just going to reincarnate here over and over and over again, and there is no way to get out of here. Okay, and so once again, I would state that this is a lot just to do with interpretation and sort of the attitude that a seeker might have. If a seeker is not so much open to the positives and to the sort of infinite possibilities of the moment, then they might tend to be more leaning towards the dark side of things. And that dark side of things is a little overwhelming, and it will lead to you to find answers such as the ones that I'm trying to combat here, which is, the answers such as, oh, you're going to be trapped here forever, and all these people who are trying to tell you about energy centers in your heart are just evil, and they they're just trying to keep you trapped here in this Saturn matrix. So let's get into the Saturn matrix, okay? So what is this idea with Saturn? Why do they always bring up Saturn and the moon? Like, if you've ever listened to, like, David Icke even, he often brings up these types of things about the Saturn matrix, and I really love that guy. I really like a lot of things that he says. However, I do think that he sort of takes certain things a little too literally, or possibly just interprets them in his way, which is okay, but I think I just have I'm sorry, but in my opinion, a slightly healthier opinion of how to interpret the Saturn matrix. And it does take some nuance, so you're going to have to just bear with me a little bit here. So I see Saturn as sort of almost neutral in a way, in that it's just like the creator. Okay, so the Saturn is somewhat close to the creator in my understanding, in terms of like their higher density entities that sort of operate on Saturn's rings, or as the planet Saturn, like in the metaphysical density. And these higher density entities can see beyond the small mind that we can see. Okay, so they very well may understand how injecting a little negativity into the world may be a good thing. I know that sounds really silly, okay, but it's more about them respecting the laws of the universe, and I suppose the laws of the universe having to do with free will. Then there's a lot of different people on our earth who will use their free will to ask for certain things, to sort of put out the call for certain things, and some of those things may be of the seeming negative nature. And as it states elsewhere in this material, that the Creator neither blinks at the dark or the light, but is available to all who shall, make choices forever, for whatever reason they decide to make choices. The energy of the Creator is there for them. And so I see Saturn as sort of this intermediate between the Creator, and it's mostly like this wise entity who injects certain positive and negative things into our planet. But we're going to back it up a little bit, because in the Law of One material, they do state how Saturn operates as a sort of quarantine for our planet. So it really does create a matrix. Like, to my understanding, they are really on point with this idea of like everything that you see and operate within is somewhat quarantined within the ring, well, within the energy of Saturn. It's like the energy from the universe first sort of filters through Saturn and then comes out into our realm. If that maybe helps the understanding. And so like a positive entity, in my opinion, is going to be worshiping the Creator, right? It's going to say, hey, the oneness of the Creator is all, and therefore I worship all as the Creator. Saturn being a portion of the one infinite Creator, therefore is a portion of infinity and a portion of unity, and therefore a great positive entity, if you will. However, at the same time, Saturn, being that sort of somewhat neutral entity, offers that negative catalyst to negative seekers on this planet. And so the negative seeker, isn't so much, in my opinion, interested in serving God as they are in serving themselves. And so they may see God as, I don't know, infallible, or I don't know exactly how they see God, right? But I would imagine they see it as like a competitor. But if you think of a negative entity, they're going to look at Saturn as the giver of their energy, right? So they're negative entities and they worship Saturn, and they very much do. There's like, man, we would have to get into so much symbology of it, but many people worship Saturn, many more people than you think might worship Saturn. Now, some are doing it unconsciously, in that they are just like just partaking in certain religions, and they're not fully aware that they're sort of worshiping Saturn in a way. And then there are, but my point with this is that the negative entities shall see Saturn as sort of their god, if you will. It's like they worshiping Saturn because Saturn's the one that's giving them their negative gifts. But at the same time, Saturn is giving positive gifts. They're mostly just the quarantiner. They're the intermediary. They're the thing that everything else comes through. So I would suggest that when you're thinking of Saturn, you are thinking of Saturn not so much in the specifics, because it's more like it's same as when you think of the Creator. You can think, well, why would they create such evil in this world, in this universe? Like how dare they? So I like to think of Saturn as sort of the same thing. Okay, it's not necessarily like positive or negative. It's just more like this, like the Creator in a way. Well, I mean, which is more positive, but in its being uber positive and uber intelligent, with being one with the universe, it can make those wise decisions, which unfortunately sometimes inject a little negativity into this world to create the balance, or to at least just to respect the free will of those people on this earth which seek those sorts of things. So like I say, it's more about that understanding is beyond infinite intelligence. It's like, yes, we are behind the veil. We do not know. The Creator knows all, and with that, we may have faith that there is a process and that things are going to work out. So, do you need to know the universal laws of everything and all of this stuff that I'm telling you about in order to make it out of here? And the idea is no, you don't. You just need to love. You need to work with the lessons of love, and through that, you shall eventually activate that heart chakra, and make then conscious decisions about how you shall incarnate and reincarnate. So in session 16.39, just a small quote here, Ross states, "It is absolutely necessary that an entity consciously realize it does not understand in order for it to be harvestable. Understanding is not of this density." End of quote. So that is a fairly loaded quote. The idea is, once again, why I'm reading this to you is like you're trying to understand Saturn and you're trying to understand the creator, but our tiny minds aren't necessarily capable of that type of understanding, at least while we are here behind the veil. So as we are here behind the veil in this forgetting, in this amnesia, it is best to sort of be humble and not fully think that you know what is exactly right and exactly wrong for this universe, and instead see the negative things as opportunities to serve, and see the positive things as reasons to be grateful and reasons to live, and things like that. It's just sort of a way to reorient the thinking about the positive and the negatives of this sort of universe in our experience. So let's get into a little bit more of some nuance here with Saturn and how they operate with free will and sort of giving us what it is the people on Earth are asking for. So I just wanted to explain this section from 7.12. They're talking about sort of our first nuclear device. And at the time, as they say, the Confederation, or Ra, and the people, the entities who would like to help us in our spiritual evolution, they like to come and attempt to help us. So it is my understanding, this is just to give you an idea of sort of how Saturn works a little bit, is that around the time that we got our first nuclear device, there was the hoped for intention of Ra and the Confederation, of these types of folks, to make our people aware of infinity, of the infinite possibilities, and through that sort of offer us a different choice. So the way I see it is that negative entities on this planet had done their seeking in a way, and their bidding as to obtain information for this seemingly very destructive nuclear device. Now, that was their free will to do that. So I imagine the Council of Saturn, as they call it, had okayed that and said, okay, fine, you free will to ask for this, so here it is. However, we're going to balance some of this giving of this seemingly negativity with some positive opportunity. And so with that, the Confederation, or Ra, was given the opportunity to sort of what do they call it, like to have their UFOs come in our sky, and just to have people be aware of them and be like, whoa, what the heck is that? Like, we're about to go into nuclear war, but now there's all these aliens showing up, and it's like, maybe they're trying to kind of hint at something. Maybe they're trying to hint that, you don't have to blow each other up. There's more to the universe than these petty fights that you guys are having. Maybe you should consider the infinite possibilities of the universe. And so that's my understanding. What happened is that through the quarantine of Saturn, both of those things were given the okay. It was, and through that you can see how some negativity is given, some positivity is given, and it is still up to the free will of our peoples as to what we shall collectively choose. And it is through those choices that really are going to determine like the future of this planet and the future of our experience. So in session 7.12, they state in this regard, the mystery and unknown quality of the occurrences we are allowed to offer have the hoped for intention of making your peoples aware of infinite possibility. When your peoples grasp infinity, then and only then can the gateway be opened to the law of one. End of quote. So once again, I guess what comes to my mind here as I read that is they state the first three chakras are sort of your general physical experience here in the third density. And as we reach the fourth chakra, which is the heart chakra, the green ray chakra, that is the springboard to to the higher chakras. That is the springboard to intelligent infinity. And so it says, when your peoples grasp infinity, then and only then can the gateway be opened to the law of one. And I would add in that you can only grasp infinity in a way once you have opened your heart, or at least, if I'm speaking to those of you on the sort of positive service to others path. And I would like to just wrap this up with another interesting quote, which this one sort of, I suppose, is me attempting to sympathize with with all of these people who are obviously in deep despair about their experience here. Like, why else would they find that information that is so sort of hopeless, which says like, hey, you're just stuck here forever in infinity of darkness, and life sucks, and you should just, I don't know, like what's the like what's the conclusion of that type of thinking? I know it usually, because I'm used to being online. The conclusion usually of those people is trying to state that, well, you have to accept Jesus Christ into your heart. But if they would just listen to me, that's literally, I'm saying the same thing. I'm trying to say love and understanding, compassion. What are all the things that Jesus was about? Well, he was about the heart. He, in my opinion, is synonymous with the heart. Like, when you say Jesus Christ and I say heart chakra, I don't really think of much difference between the two things. And so I guess I forgot to mention about that, but that's the thing. They're like, oh, your chakras are like something that are like evil, and when you activate your chakras, like you're somehow commingling with the demiurge or something. It's so silly. I just can't believe how inverted some people's knowledge is. And I would honestly state that people that, as much as they may have good intentions in sharing that type of information, that to me is almost evil and inverted. And in that, there's like this wonderful knowledge here that's here to help you awaken and to know yourself. And you have these people out there telling you that, to even entertain these types of things is evil, and you're going to go to hell for eternity, or let alone you're trapped in hell for eternity. Ay, 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 ay. So my point in reading you this quote is just to sympathize with those people a bit, okay? I know it's tough out there, and in fact, that's what this quote says. It's trying to state how there's darkness everywhere. It seems that there's darkness everywhere. However, everything begins in darkness, and the light comes into the darkness to configure it, to awaken it, I suppose. And so it does often become overwhelming as we plunge our consciousness into the amnesia, into the forgetting, into the darkness of this third dimension, and there's just darkness all around. But we are the light, and we are the candle, and it is through enlightening ourself that we bring the light into this third density darkness. So if you're just looking all around you, left, right, up, down, or around, you're just seeing darkness. But my friend, it's because the love is in your heart. It's within you. Are you looking outside yourself? Of course you're seeing darkness. Are you going within? There's the light. There's the candle. There's the heart. There's that light that you get to hold out in front and in this darkness and get to just barely see. You don't really get to see. You're still behind the veil. But if you have that candle of your heart held out in front of you, you may be able to vaguely start to see a little bit about where you should be going, about where you should be headed, about how you can better balance yourself. So they state here in this quote, session 80.10, about spirit and how it seems to be of darkness. So they state, we may note that the nature of spirit is so infinitely subtle that the fructifying influence of light upon the great darkness of the spirit is very often not as apparent as the darkness itself. End of quote. So do you see what it said and what I said, right? It's the great darkness of spirit is very often not as apparent as the darkness itself. The fructifying influence of light upon the great darkness of spirit is very often not as apparent as the darkness itself. In other words, it's so easy to not see the light of your heart, and instead just focus on all the suffering and all the darkness around us. and you being overwhelmed with that and sinking into this despair. And so, I guess my my suggestion is to attempt to not do that. And so also here in session 79.20, talking about this deep darkness, just to add some more dimension to your thinking, they state, thusly, one may see the matrix as the deepest darkness and the potentiator of spirit as the most sudden, awakening, illuminating, and generative influence. End of quote. And maybe when you read that one or think of that one, you can sort of start to make sense of all of this. It's that the matrix does seem like a deep darkness. In other words, the matrix of our experience, this third density experience that we inhabit. However, our spirit, which is what we are here to sort of awaken and to illuminate, can only be done in this darkness, I suppose, is what I'm getting at. It's like the sudden lightning in the dark that then whoosh, it lights everything up. I recall a couple of podcasts ago, I spoke about that and the dark night of the soul, and it's very much related to this, how, we are plunged into third density darkness through suffering, through the stricken tower of the tarot, the sudden lightning experience where one is stricken down. Although those very much are very terrible and negative experiences, they also are often the light that begins to make us seek, or I suppose the big flash of light that sort of makes us wake up, or it sort of just brings you back into the moment, and it's like, okay, like, oh wow, that was intense and difficult, but now I'm awake and alive and I'm thinking, and I would like to know what to do about all of this. And I would suggest that you're going to find the answer has something to do with love, the more that you seek in a sort of pure manner. So if I could just maybe wrap up here briefly, I didn't really talk about the moon much, but I know Saturn and the moon matrix, it's sort of the same idea. Like if you listen to the Ike type folks, they very much are just stating that Saturn and the moon sort of work together. So I'd suggest that that's somewhat true in that way, just from my experience of the way that I've seen things. But once again, don't see them as evil entities. They're not evil. They're just part of this 3D system, right? There's light and dark, and there's duality, and there's just that lovely mixture of those two things which give us our experience. And so there's no need to hate the darkness, right? The darkness is part of you still, so you can love the darkness. It's a part of our experience. And you can also, in terms of like actual service to self darkness, you are aware of the darkness, you acknowledge it, but you state, this is not for me, thank you very much, thank you, no thank you. That's sort of how you solve the paradox of the light and the dark, is that you accept the darkness for what it is, but then you move on and you say, I choose the light. So I would just want to let you guys, this does seem like a prison planet, which is what those people will tell you, like, hey, you're stuck here forever, prison planet, and just like, welcome to hell. But I would suggest that's not the case. I would suggest that there is this thing called 3D repeaters, and those are souls who haven't quite, grasp the baton, I believe Ross says. So they haven't fully, understood what it is that they're here to do, which is to learn the lessons of love. So unfortunately, they do reincarnate in their density over and over and over again. But, you might think of that as mean. However, I see it as the infinite patience and infinite grace of the Creator, who will give you as much time as you need to get to where you need to be, which is that we're all eventually end in the Creator. That is where all of our paths will end. All paths lead to the one, and therefore there is nothing but time between that destination and now. And, time is an illusion, and the Creator has infinite time and infinite patience for us. And so if it takes us many, 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 many attempts to make it from this third density experience and evolve into our fourth density selves, so be it. Praise ye be Creator for allowing us such freedom. And at the same time, I get it, right? That same freedom is which causes all this suffering and this darkness. But like any good gift, a gift is a curse, and a curse is a gift, and they're sort of gift slash curse, as a lot of things with the law of one are paradoxes of one another. So, it is difficult here. I'm not trying to underplay that at all. More just want to give a little bit of understanding so that you don't think that all of this is just shenanigans and the people are here trying to trick you and get you stuck in this place forever. I really do believe that the things that I'm telling you are true through my experience, and I wouldn't ask you to believe them other than just to entertain the possibility of them, and through your own experience you will find the truth. I don't need to convince you of the truth. You will find it yourself. I am almost certain of it. If you seek honestly and seek in a steady fashion, and you keep your focus on wanting to know these types of things and wanting to know the truth, not just state that, I want to know the things that satisfy me. You would instead say, like, I want to know, like, the raw truth. I want to know what it is I'm here for, what this is all about, what's going on. As you ask those things, these answers will come to you. I believe that is how these answers came to me, is just through my asking, through my calling for them. And so, a big part of this whole podcast, whether it was fully mentioned or not, is free will. And through your free will and your asking, you will then receive in numerous ways. And so Saturn and the Creator and the Moon and all of these things work together to give you, things of your free will calling, and things of our collective calling. And so as you choose to sort of pick up the baton and you point your compass in the direction of service to others, of love and understanding and compassion, so you help other people on this planet do the same. You also are helping yourself. The Creator, we're all one. To help you is to help everyone. To help someone else is to help yourself, as is the wonderful nature of unity. So step back. All is well. Understand you don't understand. I don't believe you're trapped here forever. Try to be a good person. Try to have good morals. Try to, work with the lessons of love and understanding. And what more can you do, my friends? Because what the hell else do we know what to do here than to just play with each other in ego games and get mad at each other? So let's be kind to each other. Let's love each other. And what more can we do? So thank you, my friends. That is enough rambling for today. Give us a like, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to hear some of these in the future. If you find value in the things that I do, I really can only do them if you, support me in that way. I have a lot of things that I like to do to serve, and the podcast is that little extra. And so it, you can help me find that time and to do these sorts of things. If you'd like to shoot me a one-time PayPal, jump on my Patreon. It's infinitely grateful for this, as I seek to give all this information for free. I don't really like to monetize things, and so I just want to give it freely. And if you think that this was helpful, I am open to freely receive. And I also like the idea of reminding people that if you'd like to see more of this stuff in the world, you do have to support the people that are trying to do it. As I try to support some of the things that I want to see in the world in terms of entertainment and, educational things. So I try to support, and so I ask that you do the same on my end here if you find this valuable. So theoneinfinitecreator.com is where you can find all the links to all of this stuff, to the LL research material, and if you scroll down, there's a support section where you can support me. So thank you guys so much for listening. I hope this did give you some understanding and can kind of relax about this whole Saturn, Satan stuff, okay? So much love in the power and peace of the one infinite creator. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. Take care.